Selhurst Park is an association football stadium located in the London suburb of South Norwood in the Borough of Croydon. It is the current home ground of Crystal Palace Football Club playing in the Premier League. The stadium was designed by architect Archibald Leitch and opened in 1924. The stadium has hosted one international football match as well as games for the 1948 Summer Olympics and a number of other sports. Part of the stadium incorporates a branch of Sainsbury's. The stadium was shared by Charlton Athletic FC from 1985 until 1991 and then by Wimbledon FC from 1991 until 2003. History. In 1922 the site, a former brickfield, was bought from the Brighton Railway Company for £2,570. The club had been pursuing a deal for the ground as early as the 25th of February 1919. The stadium, designed by Scottish stadium architect Archibald Leitch, was constructed by Humphreys of Kensington for around £30,000, and was officially opened by the Lord Mayor of London on 30 August 1924. There was then only one stand, the present main stand, but this was unfinished due to industrial action. Crystal Palace played Sheffield Wednesday and lost 0-1 in front of 25,000 fans. 2 years later, on St David's Day in 1926, England played Wales in an international at the stadium. England amateur matches and various other finals were also staged there, as were other sports including boxing, bicycle polo and cricket and music concerts. In addition to this, it hosted 2 games for the 1948 Summer Olympics. In 1953, the stadium's first floodlights were installed, consisting of numerous poles around the 3 sides of terracing and 4 roof-mounted installations on the main stand, but were replaced 9 years later by floodlights mounted on pylons in each corner and 6 installations on the main stand roof. Real Madrid marked the occasion by playing under the new set of bulbs, a real footballing coup at the time for 3rd Division Palace, as it was Real's first ever match in London. The ground remained undeveloped until 1969, when Palace were promoted to Division 1 for the first time. The Arthurwaite stand was built, and is named after the club's long-serving chairman, who was a builder by trade and was often seen working on the site himself. Arthurwaite was notable for overseeing Palace's rise from the 4th to the 1st Division in the 1960s. The White Horse Lane end was given a new look when a second tier of terracing, brick-built refreshments and toilets were provided along the top. The Safety of Grounds Act required the Holmesdale Road terrace to be split into 3 sections for safety reasons. The remaining poorer facilities were mainly where opposition supporters were situated. New facilities were subsequently built at the back of the Holmesdale stand. In the summer of 1981, the main stand terraced enclosure was redesigned and refitted with seating. This year also saw Palace sell the back of the White Horse Lane terrace and adjacent land to supermarket retailer Sainsbury's for £2 million to help the financial problems. The size of the terrace at this end was effectively halved. Charlton Athletic moved into the stadium as temporary tenants in 1985, and became with Palace the first league clubs in England to agree such a ground-sharing scheme. The following year, Chairman Ron Nodes purchased the stadium from the club as a means of raising revenue. In the summer of 1990, the lower half of the Arthurwaite stand was converted into all-seater with the assistance of Football Trust Grant Aid. Following the Taylor report into the Hillsborough disaster, 2 rows of executive boxes were constructed above the White Horse Lane terrace in 1991, and this was subsequently roofed and made all-seater in the summer of 1993. Charlton moved back to the Valley via West Ham's Berlin ground, and Wimbledon F.C. replaced them as tenants in 1991. The Holmesdale Terrace was demolished in 1994 and replaced a year later with a two-tiered 8,500 capacity stand. The roof cladding of the main stand was also replaced, the previous one having started to leak. Some 15 years on, this remains the most recent major work to be carried out at Selhurst Park. When Mark Goldberg bought Crystal Palace, he bought just the club. Former Palace chairman Ron Nodes retained ownership of the Selhurst Park ground, having purchased it from the club in 1986. Chairman Simon Jordan took out a 10-year lease on the ground upon his purchase of the club in 2000, and Nodes received rent from Palace. Wimbledon relocated to Milton Keynes in 2003, a section of the fans already having decamped to the newly established AFC Wimbledon in protest. When the old club were given permission by the FA to move in 2002, Palace chairman Jordan stated that he had completed a purchase of the freehold of Selhurst Park from Altonwood Limited for £12 million in October 2006. However, Simon Jordan never owned the freehold or had any interest in it, and his reasons for claiming he had bought it are unknown. Ownership was in fact held by Selhurst Park Limited, a joint venture between HBOS and the Rock Property Empire owned by Paul Kemsley, a former director of Tottenham Hotspur. In April 2008, a 25-year lease was granted to Crystal Palace at an annual rent of £1.2 million. The Rock Group went into administration in June 2009. The management of the freehold was taken on by PwC acting on behalf of Lloyds Bank, which now own HBOS. PwC expected to sell it within 2 years. The club and Selhurst Park Stadium were purchased by the CPFC 2010 consortium in June 2010, leading to the stadium and football club being united in a company for the first time since 1998. January 2011 saw CPFC 2010 announce plans to redevelop the Crystal Palace National Sports Centre, the club's original home, in 5 years' time. However, opposition from Crystal Palace residents and Bromley Council have seen the plans become increasingly infeasible, resulting in suggestions that Selhurst Park should be redeveloped gradually, similar to the Molineux Stadium. In June 2012, Crystal Palace co-chairman Steve Parish approached rugby union team London Welsh about a possible ground share. London Welsh's promotion to the English Premiership was in doubt, as the plans to play the matches at Cassim Stadium were deemed unsuitable by the RFU. The stands. Holmesdale Road stand capacity of stand. The Holmesdale is a double-tiered stand on the south side of the stadium, built 1994-95. This is the newest stand in the stadium, replacing the previous terrace stand. Arthur Waite stand capacity of stand. Part of this stand seats the away supporters. The Arthur Waite stand, named after the then chairman, opened in 1969. Main stand capacity of stand. This original stand opened in 1924, includes the director's box. New offices' main entrance were built at the rear of the stand during the 90s. Meanwhile, the exterior of the main stand has been recladded in white, replacing the older original blue painted corrugated iron. New seats were also installed during the summer of 2013. Several lounges, bars and a restaurant are also within the stand. With new investment now confirmed, the stand will be the first developed into a two-tier structure, building over the current stand, then removing the present roof. White Horse Lane stand capacity of stand 2,245 plus seating for executive boxes. The White Horse Lane stand is otherwise known as the family stand for Crystal Palace supporters. The stand also include 24 luxury executive boxes. Attendance. Average records. The record attendance in Selhurst Park was achieved in 1979, when 51,801 people saw Crystal Palace defeat Burnley FC 2-0 to clinch the Football League's Second Division Championship title. The ground also holds the record for Division 4 attendance, when Crystal Palace played local rivals Millwall FC in 1961 after 37,774 people turned out for the game. The ground also holds the English football record for staging the game seen by the greatest amount of people. Over 100 million people watched the club debut of the first Chinese footballers to play in English football, Sun Jihai and Fan Zhiyi, in 1998. 100 million people were reported to be watching on television in China alone. Selhurst Park recorded the lowest attendance for a Premier League game, 3,039, during Wimbledon v Everton on 26 January 1993. The game finished 3-1 to Everton.